Coming up on Techzilla, change your password or die. A free tool to help fix your Wi-Fi, the ultimate computer desk, and a big old stack of your viewer questions, along with your help for Dadditude. So pour me a virgin daiquiri and pour yourself a proper one with rum, because Techzilla starts now. This episode of Techzilla is made possible by Dine Inc., the United States Air Force, and Squarespace. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Techzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to get the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech, or where Patrick brought his ridiculous bear hoodie, where is it?
It's hidden.
Why?
Hunting issues.
Oh, it is bear season. Well, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down somebody who does. Now, there is a ton of tech to talk about this week, but the most important thing going on here in the studio is our new autographed picture of Edward James Olmos in full Battlestar Galactica glory, playing Admiral William Adama.
He's so handsome. I wish he was my dad.
And leadership.
I feel like we have more leadership now in the room just because the image is there. Like I feel calmer, I feel like way more under control. Like I guess Roger just isn't enough. I guess we needed Adama around also.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just kidding.
Before Roger starts weeping in the control room, we want to thank Gerardo for getting us the fabulously autographed
for doing
picture.
what I could not do, which was get the nuts up to go up to him and get a signature.
Or the ovaries, as the case may be.
And pay the $50.
Well, hopefully you didn't have to pay that much, and if you did, a double thank you, Gerardo. All right, it's the I'm afraid to find out how much it costs department. Check out Poetic Technologies workstations. I figure any desk that comes with a rotating base that, I quote, lets the user take advantage of natural sunlight, avoid external glare, vary sight lines and positions for conferencing, it automatically rotates 120 degrees over 8 hours to keep your monitor out of the sun. I'm not even going to talk about the options for filtering the air or the crazy seat with like lumbar and dorsal adjustments and 7 other adjustments, or the 20 receptacles it can pack across a pair, 2 120-volt circuits.
I know, and how about that catheter too, huh? That is just a AAA feature.
I didn't see that option. That's perfect.
That's because it doesn't really exist.
Actually, you could use a Baja catheter with it if you had a drain.
What's a Baja? Is that like it sucks all the water out of your pee and then makes it drinkable again? Please tell me that's what it is. It's like a still suit?
It's like a still suit, only different.
Would you really use one of those though? I mean, I kind of would. If Ryan, by the way, thank you so much for Ryan for guest hosting last week while I was away. He did a good job. I was very proud of him.
He did quite well.
But he would never let me have that in the house.
I don't know if you could get it into your apartment without like knocking out a wall.
He has a much higher standard of like taste for like furnishings than I do. I'd be like, yeah, we'll get 2 of them, we'll put them next to each other, it'll be totally sick.
You're not into the whole space stockbroker effect that has?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean,
space stockbroker effect?
Well, you ever see like the stockbrokers cubicles on Wall Street where they have like 42 monitors and they're each this like individual little cubicle of information?
If it could somehow like rotate fast enough to
make you sick?
Like centrifugal force, you know, so you could actually feel like you were in a spaceship when you were playing like, I don't know, some game, X-Wing, I don't know.
So it's like we'd like throw you around?
Yeah. And like simulate having G-forces put on your body.
We could just get you a simulator that does that.
That would be more expensive than one of these, I think, maybe.
I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can find out how much one of those costs. Then we'll take a look at one of the crazy space
Maybe we could get one in
simulators.
for review. Wouldn't that be cool if we had it in the office? That could be like my cubicle.
You
know, for the one day I'm here a week. Anyway, we talk a lot about backing up, but the recent assault on Windows Live Hotmail users is a reminder that we haven't talked too much about password security, specifically the importance of changing your passwords regularly. It's common in large companies to force you to change your login password on a regular basis. It's not so common for most home users, and it definitely should be. Wondering why?
Why?
Why? The longer you keep the same password, the more likely it is that someone has stolen it, whether by looking over your shoulder shoulder using a keyboard logger, cracking the database at the website. Well, you get the idea. If you change it regularly, say every 6 months or so, that stolen password is rendered useless.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, like when fishing expedition goes out, the whole idea is that they're probably not going to use them all immediately. They may be bargaining, they may be selling them, they may be sitting on them. Look, you should absolutely, definitely, immediately change your password if you think you've been the victim of a scam. This isn't just for the 10,000 plus Hotmail users that got their logins and password snaked in a phishing scam recently. Microsoft maintains you don't have a breach, and before you mock folks, I myself have in fact once accidentally clicked on a phishing email a couple years ago.
Just this one time.
Just this one time. It just happened.
That's how we learned, folks.
It's crazy. In an article on this, Computer World quotes the anti-phishing working group as having seen 50 to 75,000 accounts breached in a successful phishing campaign. It might not be you, but it might be lots of members of your family or your office. So it's something to definitely be aware of.
Yeah, and while we're talking passwords, you should never use the same password and log in across multiple sites. That kind of goes without saying. And you should keep birthdays, family names, addresses, dictionary phrases, or the all too common 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or password as a password.
Or 00000, or QWERTY, or...
It boggles my mind that people still use password as a password. But anyway, if remembering all your passwords sounds like too much, there are some secure tools to help you.
KeePass is really well respected. It's open source, it's free, it runs on Windows, it can keep all your passwords encrypted until you need them. A lot of folks also swear by RoboForm. It's free for up to 10 passcards. That's actually, a passcard is an individual password across an account. An unlimited version runs $30. I know people who live by RoboForm religiously.
Yeah.
You, however, have something simpler for the OS X crowd.
Yeah, I'm lazy and I use Keychain. It backs everything up automatically.
You say lazy?
Backs all my passwords up automatically, rather. It uses a master key, master password.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of a password manager, right? Because just between, like, you know, bank stuff and credit card stuff and, you know, all the different, like, passwords you have to manage URLs, you know, not to mention any sites you're logged into, it's really easy to have 30 or 40 passwords that you have to remember. The whole idea of a password management tool is it encrypts all those passwords. It uses a big honkin' hashed out password, where did that come from? Big honkin' password that basically encrypts everything down so that it will be just about impossible, short of the next generation of quantum computing, to get into your stuff. Absolutely.
So, make sure you change your passwords. If you're a Hotmail user, that sucks. I'm sorry for you.
Yes.
Why are you still using Hotmail exactly?
Some people like
Hotmail.
I'm
just kidding.
It's
that
Windows
was mean of
Live
me. I'm kidding.
Hotmail. It's
Windows
the new
Live
shiny Hotmail.
You're right.
It's got Bing.
I'm a jerk. I know. I like Bing. I like Microsoft. All right, anyhow, heads up. Want to be part of Techzilla? We're taking questions during our taping Monday, October 12th via a meeting using DimDim, the free open source web conferencing tool. That's right. You get a chance to have your question used on Techzilla and hang out with us online. Just sign up at dimdim.com/Techzilla and you'll automatically receive an email invite to join us on October 12th.
Still to come at Antex and Antalks SSDs. Is it time to go solid state for your hard drive? We're mapping your Wi-Fi using inSSIDer, and we got a stack of viewer questions for you. But first, let's thank one of our sponsors, Dine Inc. Dine Inc. has leveraged its decade of computer networking and security expertise to make your home or office internet experience faster, safer, and better through its newest service, DineDNS.com Internet Guide. You are now free to surf the net without the sharks. By using their managed network spread across the world instead of using your ISP by default, your computer will be able to find websites faster. They make your internet secure and safe by blocking phishing and malware sites at the DNS level so your computer is never put at risk. You can even set parental controls for content or common sites in an office setting. With Internet Guide, you can be up and running with full protection in less than a minute. There is no software to install, and it's free. So do yourself a favor and check out DineDNS.com. Welcome to this week's freebie download pick, a free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, the Unarchiver. Everyone needs a good unzipping tool. Sure, you can use OS X's built-in tool, but it leaves you high and dry when it comes time to unpack RARs, 7-zip, stuff it, and a host of weird formats like NDS and ADF. Enter the Unarchiver, probably the last best compressed file opener you'll ever need. It's fast, light, and best of all, free. The interface is straightforward. You can select which formats the Unarchiver unpacks, then just double-click on a file and it unpacks. Although the Unarchiver claims it only has limited support for stuff it archives, it's worked on every one we've tried, and it's pretty tolerant of foreign characters in case you like downloading files from countries where the alphabet, as we know it, does not apply. The Unarchiver's goal is to be able to extract anything you give it, and it's well on its way. If you're still searching for that perfect archive unpacking tool for OS X, you should definitely check out the Unarchiver.
All right, we got ourselves a video question from Michael Moore. No, not the filmmaker, this guy.
Hi Patrick, hi Veronica. A friend has just finished remodeling their house. Their Wi-Fi router is giving them terrible reception. It's in the same room as their AV equipment and their air conditioner. Is there anything we can do new router-wise that will make this work better? Thanks. Enjoy the show.
Michael, if your friends are running Windows, they should download inSSIDer from metageek.net. One of our viewers, Jake, was just emailing me about it. Our friends at Hack5 talked about it on episode 604. Essentially, it's a tool to analyze the Wi-Fi activity in your home or office.
It's so cool looking.
Yeah, it's actually one of the neatest kind of Wi-Fi inspection tools I've ever seen. Fire it up, it gives you a chart of all the local access points, their strengths, and something you'll want to eyeball the channels. And what's really cool is they actually have a visual representation of the strength of all the wireless access points across the channels in a chart. So 11's over here, like 5's down here. And you'll probably see everybody in your friend's neighborhood using channel 6. So you might want to try a different channel to see if you reduce the interference. Put it in a notebook. You can use it to quickly inventory signal strength around your workplace, or in your case, around your friend's home. You might find moving the wireless access point to another location in the house can make a significant difference in the quality of Wi-Fi reception. If you want to see something really cool, download Metageek's Channelizer Lite, and you can see all the RF activity, not just wireless access points showing SSIDs in your area. You'll get like 2.4 gigahertz cell phones, microwave flares, and yeah, you'll also see the Wi-Fi stuff. And it's really cool because it'll give you, if you have the horsepower in your notebook, it'll actually give you a chart in real time of all the activity, and you can basically try to figure out what the heck is going on.
It's pretty cool.
I really want to see what Channelizer does when Hack5 reviews it. They're going to play around with the full version soon, so keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
But inSSIDer, very, very, very cool.
I could just sit there and watch it all day, pretty much. It's really cool to look at. Hey, want to make me happy? Send us in a video question. Just record yourself in front of a camera asking a question and try to make sure it's no longer than 15 seconds. Upload your question to YouTube and then email us a link to your fabulous video question with video question in the subject line. It's so easy. Try sending us one today. Coming up next, we talk with Anand about SSDs, but first, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. Squarespace is a publishing system for anyone looking to build a blog, portfolio, or any kind of website. They offer a uniquely flexible tool for just about anyone to build high-end, complex websites with the same functionality that you will find on some of the highest traffic pages on the web. No coding experience required. Plus, Squarespace's newly launched site importer tool makes things super easy to move over your existing blog or website. They support WordPress, Blogger, TypePad, and movable type imports, and it migrates posts, comments, tags, authors, and media. And if you've been using custom domains, Squarespace will actually use the URL structure, ensuring that when you move your domain to Squarespace, in most cases, all your links will still work. So check it out now at squarespace.com and use the code TECHZ, that's TEKZ, when you sign up to get 10% off the lifetime of your order. Support us by supporting our sponsors. Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, TigerBow. The interesting thing about social networking is that you can make a lot of friends that you, well, don't really know all that well. So when it's time to send that special internet someone a gift, but you don't know their address, send it through TigerBow. TigerBow is a site that allows you to send real-world gifts to people's virtual address, their handle on Twitter, Facebook, or even their mobile phone number. Those handles are connected to a real address that the recipient gives to TigerBow when a gift is pending. Never does that information get to the sender. Now, the company isn't just a mail proxy. At the moment, there are only certain things that you can send as gifts, like delicious candies and treats, to t-shirts and flowers. Perfect for wooing that cute girl on Twitter that you'd like to get to know better without freaking her out by asking for her home address. Oh, and don't worry. If you're sending a gift, there's no way for the recipient to see the sender's address either, unless, of course, they ask you for it so they can thank you in person. Solid-state drives are a hot topic among PC enthusiasts. They're super fast, fairly expensive, and earlier this year, prone to various kinds of fail. Are the latest crop of SSDs worthy of your hard-earned dollars? Patrick sat down with the best SSD expert we know, Anand, to get the cold, hard facts on performance, longevity, and the future of these solid-state wonders.
Anand Shimpi, editor-in-chief of AnandTech.com, has been very excited about solid-state drives for a long time. You might know him as SSDs. He's also been pretty frustrated with the performance issues in many of the models that hit the street earlier this year. In fact, he's pretty much done the definitive write-ups on those problems. Things seem to have settled down, but let's get the word from the man himself running the benchmarks. Anand, welcome back to TechZilla.
Thank you, sir.
I gotta say, is it finally safe to buy? Because I was about to buy one, read your articles, backed away from the J Micron. The Intel stuff's amazing, but it's too expensive. But everything's kind of changed in the last 2 months for SSDs.
Yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes things change, but they don't, and sometimes they do, and it's actually genuine change. So at the end of last year, right before the Intel drive first came out, the market was really, really confusing. We had these $1,000 SSDs using SLC flash that were $1,000 for like 60 gigs. And then we had this new class of sub $500 drives, which ended up being total crap. They were all the J Micron things that, that you saw. Those drives are almost completely out of the market now.
Oh, good.
And we had this great option. We had something we could recommend. It's this Intel drive, right? The X25M, but it was $600 for 80 gigs. And
just enough room for your operating system, maybe a video game, and you're done.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where if you put like WoW or any of the MMOs on it, you're actually paying in the multiple hundreds of dollars just to have that game installed at that time, right? So what's happened since is NAND used to be made, at least on not my name, the actual flash memory.
NAND.
Yeah. 50 nanometer was what Intel used in the Generation 1 X25M. Moore's Law kicked in, and we're at 34 nanometer. So suddenly the prices drop. So what you used to have for about $600 is now down in the like mid to upper $200 range, and that's good for 80 gigs.
So when you're talking about 80 gigs, you know, you're probably thinking either your primary drive for your operating system, you know, maybe 1 or 2 major applications, or your notebook hard drive. What are you looking at in terms of a performance improvement?
Tremendous, right? So the way I view these things and the way I use it in my personal system is one of these 80 gig or 160 or 120 gig drives as your OS and application drive, right? And that's it. And the sort of performance improvement you get ranges from, yeah, everything works the same as it always did, to order of magnitude improvement.
Right.
And I'll get to the reasoning behind that in a second, but the perfect test is you go to fire on your PC, turn it on from a sleeper, or you're just installed some updates, have to do a clean reboot.
Sure.
You know when you hit your desktop, it's not usable,
right?
All the extra stuff has to happen. Windows is doing who knows what in the background, and there's just a bunch of crap happening that makes it
Windows does.
Exactly. That makes it unusable,
sure.
right? So if you go to fire up Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, your email, and a couple apps, whatever it is, those things take a minute or so to fire up there. Even if you have like a $2,000 or $3,000 Nehalem system, that's how it is. The SSD will severely reduce that.
Yes.
So I have a test I call the fresh test, which is boot the machine from scratch, fire up 3 apps, time how long it takes. Generally takes about a minute on the world's fastest desktop hard drive on a Velociraptor.
Right.
On a 4-core Nehalem, I mean, this is a big system. So you'll go from about a minute down to about 6.5 seconds.
That's a pretty significant, that's an order of magnitude,
yes.
effectively.
So, and the reason you get that is because if you look at the way Windows and all of these applications work, it's a combination of some sequential reads and writes, but a lot of small file random reads and writes. And that truly is the weakness of mechanical storage, right? Because you physically have a platter spinning.
Pick up the head, move it over here, drop it down, pick it up, move it over here, drop it down.
You can't move at the speed of electrons, you move at the speed of, mechanics.
Alarm.
Yeah, exactly. So stitch a bunch of those operations together, and it starts to get a little painful. And that's why what Microsoft and everyone have been working on for the past several years is how to hide that, how to cache as much stuff as possible. So that's something that SSDs don't have to deal with. So a good SSD has an order of magnitude improvement in terms of random read and write operations.
Is that going to help you as much with running Photoshop or Final Cut Pro or something that traditionally uses all of your memory and as much of your hard drive as possible? Or?
Yeah, it pretty much helps everything, right? It's just how much does it help? Sure. The most noticeable is, and the way I like to characterize it is, whenever you launch an application, it launches as if it were in memory already, right? It's that fast. It helps a lot with having antivirus running in the background, because one of the most painful things about antivirus is it makes everything super slow.
Because it's kicking back to the hard drive.
Exactly. And what you find is there's a metric that we look at, which is I/O operations per second, or IOPS. And if you look at the random read or write IOPS capable on the fastest desktop hard drives, you're in the 100 range,
Right.
you know, 100 to 300 range.
Sounds good.
Yeah. If you look at the fastest SSDs, even well used in their worst case performance, you're talking about 10,000.
That's a lot better.
Right? So, and you look at it, well, what can you do with 10,000 IOPS versus 300 to 400 or 1 to 300? You can do a lot more stuff. You can start doing encryption. You can start doing real-time virus scanning where it doesn't actually impact performance.
Right.
You can fire up every application in your start menu at the same time. And it also works really well under Linux and OS X.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So you've been spending a lot of time with notebooks running SSDs. Are you seeing any particular battery life benefits? Because it seems like hard drives, rotating media seems to be so optimized in the notebook environment at this point. You know, are you getting any? You're not looking at it like, oh my goodness, there's 50% more battery life. I know there's not that much.
Yeah, no, I've seen as much as 10 to 20%, depending on the test and the configuration. Ultimately, you don't have to spin a motor.
Sure.
So these things do use less power. They definitely use a lot less power than the desktop hard drives.
Right.
And you know, their idle power, especially in notebooks, is in, you know, it's comparable if not better than idle power on a hard drive that you've completely shut down. So it's you know, it's good. It's not going to give you the doubling in battery life, but you might see up to an extra 10 to 20%.
That's not bad.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that's the equivalent of turning your screen down as much as you can usually.
Yeah, I think fundamentally the biggest benefit is performance if you get a good SSD.
Well, let's talk about good SSDs versus bad SSDs, because you mentioned the Intel, the X25, XM25. That's pretty much what normal human beings can afford if they're not, you know, if they don't have a large car payment, let's say.
Yeah.
Now there's a ton of drives. I'll say OCZ comes to mind because invariably, as soon as I'm on Newegg or Tiger, it seems like OCZ is the first name I see where you're looking at like 300 gigabytes for significantly less money. Actually, it's probably more like 120 gigabytes. But how are this kind of, I'll say it, the second tier drives? How are the second tier drives doing compared to Intel?
So the way I look at it is there are three viable options in the market right now.
Sure.
You have drives based on the Intel controller, drives based on the Samsung controller, and drives based on the Indalinks controller. Right. Indalinks is a Korean company, a bunch of ex-Samsung guys, and they kind of came out of nowhere, but actually have a competitive product. The majority of OCZ's lineup and a lot of the other manufacturers like Patriot, Super Talent, they use Indalinks drives. Those drives, they're kind of overall peak performance. They're not quite as good as the Intels, but they're cheaper.
Right.
And you know, I think Indalinks is finally at the point now where if you are running on a stable firmware from them, that it's good enough, right? And you're not really giving up anything. Now, in the past, you know, they had some growing pains and stuff like that, and some of their beta firmwares or some of their more on the edge kind of stuff that they're releasing is maybe not what I would recommend for a stable home personal system. But the stuff that you can go out and buy is actually good.
Cool.
The Samsung drive is what comes in the Apples, the Lenovo's, the Dells. I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Why is that?
You know, it does really well with read, write, sequential, random performance, what have you, until you get it to a very used state. And when you're in that state, it's still okay, but I view all of these as luxury items, even the cheap ones are.
Sure.
Because
they're not cheap, right?
No, they're more expensive than hard drives, right? So if you're going to pay the premium, I need it to be good in all areas. And that's why my recommendation is, if you can afford it, the Intel drive. If you can't, you know, the Indalinks drives are a viable alternative.
In terms of the Intel drive, is the primary advantage it does such a good job of managing where it's writing to the memory? I mean, are we going to see some of that in the other drives as the Windows 7 optimizations for flash drives come in place?
So the strength in the Intel drive, it boils down to controller and firmware technology. The Intel drive is a bit more dynamic. It can then kind of adjust to your workload a bit better than some of the other drives. And ultimately what that results in is better peak performance, better kind of worst case scenario performance.
Right. Worst case scenario being when you've pretty much filled the entire drive.
Yeah, or when you've used the drive a lot. And obviously with Windows 7 you enable an instruction called trim. And I won't get into the details of that, but it basically makes it so that your performance degradation over time used to be like a curve like that. This lets you kind of flatten that out a much more, as long as you're not physically filling the drive.
Right. So basically, because the issue is as you rewrite, it basically fills up. It doesn't like to. It doesn't erase well, I guess, is the way when you're talking about NAND memory compared to a traditional hard drive.
Correct.
So will that improve over time, or how are they going to deal with that in the long run? Or is
it's something that honestly I think Intel and to a certain extent Indelinks have already dealt with in as good as they can today, and good enough that I would recommend people to buy it. Right? It's used in all of my systems, so I'm happy with it.
Right. You're also not using it as a scratch drive and running like several gigabytes of video through it on a daily basis.
Yeah. So my page file is stored on it, but I'm not using it as my multi-terabyte video storage drive because it's just not cost effective. If you look at one of the things that Intel's working on is not necessarily optimizing for peak SSD performance, but trying to make sure that you have consistent performance over the lifespan of the drive.
Which is a pretty serious, with some of the drives that were out earlier this year, as you started to fill up the drive, or if you just use the drive and wrote to it constantly, the performance would just drop off a cliff all of a sudden.
Yeah, so what you're going to see, I think, in the next generation and the generation beyond that is kind of more consistent performance. So you won't see this, the peaks may not be as high, but the performance will be consistent across the life of the drive.
So in terms of SSDs becoming mainstream, end of next year, are they going to be anywhere near parity with rotating media, or where do we see that, or do we ever see that?
You're not going to see it on parity with rotating media for quite a while. The question is, when does it get affordable enough?
Sure.
Right. I personally view it as today it's affordable enough. The reason being is I've always characterized it as the single largest performance improvement you can do to your PC, above a new CPU, new motherboard, more memory, what have you.
Like 64-bit Windows 7 with a Core i7 and 12 gigabytes of RAM, that's not going to equate the sort of caching performance of a, no?
It addresses a different problem, right? if you're bound by compute, throwing more compute at the problem would be fine.
Sure.
But I think everyone to a certain extent is bound by I/O performance. So you got to throw more IOPS at the problem. So personally, I view today at the $300 and below level, I believe that's fine. I think over the course of the next year, you'll probably see that fall by another 30 to 50%.
Right. So all of a sudden, the entry-level SSD is about 100, 150 bucks.
Yeah, I think, and well, you might see stuff under 100 a bit sooner than that.
I like that thought.
Yeah, people are trying to get creative because everyone wants to hit that sub $100 price point. I think it becomes more mainstream for the performance to enthusiast class of user by the end of 2010. And then I think 2011, 2012 is when we start seeing it much more pervasive.
And suddenly it's in $500 PCs.
Yeah.
It's kind of a scary thought. Anand, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow Anand's work, you can check out his site, anandtech.com. It is an outstanding place for hardware reviews and tracking the latest in PC tech developments. We highly recommend it before you start buying parts for your new system.
Coming up next, ping,
pong,
and your help for Dadditude. But first,
let's take a moment for a word from one of our sponsors, the United States Air Force. Alec Rode and I have heard of something called ping.
pong.
I know it's like a hack or something for your computer, but I don't know what it is or how to use it. Can you help me? Alec, welcome to Network Admin 101. Ping isn't a hack. We're going to be doing that all day. Ping,
Pong.
ping,
Pong.
ping,
Pong.
isn't a hack. It's a network tool that's used to determine if a host is available at the other end of a network. It tells you how long it takes to reach that host, and it's commonly used to quickly find out if your network is connected to the internets. Now, if you're on Windows, go to Start, Run, type in CMD, and in the command window that pops up, that's the big black window full of text, type in ping and the IP address or the URL of what you're checking up on. I usually use Google, just type in google.com, and it'll basically tell you if your network is connected and how fast or slow that connection, basically the latency of the connection, is running. Now, this is fun. Type in traceroute, T-R-A-C-E-R-T, and the same URL. Now you'll get the number of hops. That's basically all the servers that are in between your computer and the device at the other end, along with the time for each step. This is a great tool for figuring out problems between your ISP, the other ISP, and the backbones in between, or at least a great first step if you're trying to do something like figure out why your video is downloading so slow.
The first time I ever heard the term was in IRC channels. That's where the pong came from, because you would type in like exclamation point ping, or was it ping exclamation point, or exclamation point ping, and it would give you back your latency. And that was your pong. Anyway, we had tons of great responses to the question from Dadditude 2 weeks ago, who was trying to batch edit some extra silence into his audio files. One of the popular suggestions was socks. You can get that at socks.sourceforge.net. We got that answer from Oleg. Kyle from iFixit was one of the first people to come up with that because he was actually in the studio. And he was like, yeah, socks. Rich, Pedja, Pete, Javier, Jim, and Fur. Mohammed wrote in, and he is actually a friend of Batish, who's a big fan of the show, and he actually wrote up a little script using socks as well. His tips are to download socks from SourceForge, extract it to a directory, create a batch file inside that folder, and paste the following lines into it and save. Here's the lines so you guys can check it out. I'm not going to read it all out for you there. And then afterwards, drag and drop all your AIFF files into this batch file, and it will convert them to OGG with a 5.25 second silence at the end. You may change the 5.25 number to your desired 0.25 if you need to, and then you're done. Woohoo! Andrew also had a slightly different take on that, and we'll show you the things you have to type in there as well. Just as long and difficult to say out loud.
But it still rocks using two hands. But it still
rocks or is using Socksaurus. And Arthur writes, I've just been watching the episode 107 and thought you might be interested to know that there is a way to do what Dadditude from Pennsylvania wanted to do with his AIF files, although he will have to use Windows. Dun, dun, dun. It's quite easy, really. Download and install the trial version of DB PowerAmp Music Converter. Download and install the AIFF and OGG Vorbis codecs from the Codec Central section of their website. Download and install the DSP Effects plugin, highlight all the audio files you wish to add the 0.25 seconds of silence to the end of, right-click them, and select Convert To from the context menu. Choose OGG Vorbis from the Converting To drop-down box and adjust the quality to whatever you want. Then, under the DSP Effects Actions, click the Add button and then select Write Silence from the Add DSP Effect menu. In the dialog box that appears, choose the Add Silence to End option and then type 250 in the milliseconds box. The default is to add 10 seconds of silence, so you can make sure to change a 10 to a 0 in the seconds box. Click OK, and then click the Convert button. Whew. Yeah, we also had that suggestion from Fernando and Mike C., who also suggested DB PowerAmp. That sounds pretty good.
The audience continues to rock with two hands.
I know. As for Automator, the one that I was trying to make work, Sam and Steve both wrote in to say that using Automator's Watch Me Do function could help. It records and tracks your mouse clicks and then automates them, so if you teach it right, it could remember the whole process. Well, if one of those things doesn't help Dadditude, I don't know what will.
I heart the Techzilla crew. You people rock with two hands, as the case may be. Hey, if you haven't seen it yet, check out Web Zero's Revision 3's first sitcom. It launched yesterday, and we would love it if you gave it a look. It's about three buddies trying to become web celebrities, and it's pretty darn funny. It comes out every Wednesday, and you can find it at revision3.com/webzeros. And for everybody watching, we live on your questions, so email us, techzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos, you ask us, we'll do it, but we need those emails. So don't be shy, send them into techzilla@revision3.com.
Or even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Hi, Mom! Hi, Mom! Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with other fans of the show. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Until next time, you've been watching Techzilla.
Mad at me for making fun of Windows Live Hotmail.
What, the four people who...
Hotmail, man, come on. Heads up, we want to... What? What?
Whoa!
What? What?
Bucket.
Ah! 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 Coming up next, Jolie Cloud reviewed... That wasn't it. We did that already. I'm sensing some negativity.
I think you're creating negativity.
Huh?
I think you're creating the negativity.
I'm not creating any negativity.
I did pick up on negativity.
I'm a negative void. Well, that means I'm positive because I'm voiding out all the negativity.
I'm trying to say you're sucking me into your void of negativity. That came up totally wrong.
That's because you're so negative. I'm sucking in all the negativity. Therefore, my void is sucking you in.
Don't go there with the voids and the sucking, because if that makes it into the bloopers.
Veronica, you have to save me. Come to the future. Terrible.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
We already did that joke.
Oh, sorry.
Remember?
There's some things when you see you turn green.
It's like an updated version of that.
Actually, it's sort of half.
When I saw her face. Whoa.
Whoa.
You're having way too much fun in there.
Stand by.
We can only get green working, guys.
Yeah.
Gonna have to do it for the rest of the show.
Green.
I don't know if you could tell, but I'm winking suggestively.
She's got
And
it,
orangely.
Yeah. Got it.
I look like Charo. Gucci, Gucci.
Oh my.
Gucci, Gucci.
That's just.
Hey, Charo, Gucci, Gucci.